We're joined by Steve Kerr. Steve, thank you for joining us. I know you can't see all the video we just played, but you know those sounds well enough, the sounds of your shot, the sounds of you at the victory parade. And I mean, look, we got Scottie here, and I texted you yesterday and said, get your embarrassing stories about Scottie Pippen ready. And you were no fun. You said, I'm not going to do it.
Not on TV.
Can't do it. No. When a guy basically gets you 3 rings, you don't ever make fun of him. So that's the deal.
Well, I do want to ask you about playing with him because, you know, Scottie's part of our family up here. But what is your best memory of playing with Scottie and being on those teams?
Well, everything. We were together 5 years and you know, won 3 titles and had a couple other years that were really fun, you know, where we just got to play together. Scottie was like our point forward. It was perfect for me because I could play off of him and just shoot my shot. And those were great years. I mean, that was a historic era for the Bulls in the NBA. And just to be a part of it with Scottie and Michael and Phil and Dennis, the whole group, pretty amazing experience.
And Dennis, I love that. And Dennis, that could be its own segment.
Steve, I wanted to ask you.
That was the most amazing thing was Dennis.
Yeah, you know. Hey, I wanted to ask you, how do you feel about the drive that your team have going into this postseason?
Well, it's a good question, Scottie, because you and I both know, you know, year 3 is a lot harder than year 1, you know, and in this case for us, it's actually year 4. We've been to the finals 3 straight years. One of my memories from '98 when we were able to beat Utah in that series was we were kind of running on fumes. You were riding the bike in the hallway during the game because your back hurt, and the end of that journey just seemed like it had taken forever to get there. And whereas the first couple of years, everything was a lot smoother. And I think that's what we've seen here this year. I mean, it's just been a longer haul, more injuries, more adversity. But here we are. And, you know, we're excited that the playoffs are starting and we've got a chance to do something special. But we got to bring it and we got to find our game again because we've been off for the last few weeks.
We see Steph Curry shooting behind you. There was a report this morning that he might be back middle of the second round. I don't know. It looks pretty good back there. You sure you're not going to bring him back early?
Yeah, if I could just use him as a pinch hitter, just come in and like shoot the ball and then go back to the bench, I'm sure he'd be good. But he's, you know, he's not ready. He's not nowhere close to being ready to play in a game. But it's good to see him out here, getting better anyway.
You recently said we can beat anybody even without Steph. Do you still feel that way?
I do. You know, we've played over 30 games without Steph this year, and so we're accustomed to what we have to do. We had a stretch in January, or I think it was December. We went 9-1 without Steph. Our defense was the best defense in the league over that 10-game stretch. That's what it takes. Our defense has to get better. The last month, our defense has really suffered. We just have not been intense enough, and we've been lazy on our rotations, and that has to change. And we know the Spurs are going to make us do that. They bring the best out of you because they're going to expose every weakness you have. And so I think it's a great first-round matchup for us. It's either going to bring the best out of us and remind us of how hard we have to play, or totally expose us and prove that, you know, we're not ready for it. And we got to find out one way or the other.
So, Steve, I remember back when you were doing TV for TNT and we were in those runs with the Heat, and you were just like, I don't know how they keep doing this. This 4-year run, I remember what it was like for us in Chicago. It was so exhausting. Now the roles have switched. You're in it. And I've noticed you talking about this since October. You've been so you know, concerned about being able to keep the focus, and obviously it's been an issue. But ultimately, your teams in Chicago and those Heat teams always rallied. I know that you're concerned about it, but with the talent you have, where do you feel like their focus is going to be when it really counts now?
Oh, I think the focus will be great. I think part of the problem the last month is that we've been locked into the 2 seed. Obviously, we've had a lot of injuries, but the games have not been meaningful, and our play and our focus reflected that. The games are about to get extremely meaningful, as we know. And I know our guys. I know how competitive they are. I know how talented they are. So I expect things to turn around pretty quickly for us here in the first round.
Steve, are you worried about your team's composure with the referees?
How about my own composure with the referees? We've got a pretty fiery group, T-Mac. I mean, obviously, Draymond and KD. I think we're 1 and 2 this year in technicals. I was probably up there on the coaches list pretty high, but I'm not concerned about that. You know, we've been to the finals 3 straight years. We've had a pretty emotional group, particularly Draymond. But we need that. We need that edge that Draymond brings. We want both of those guys with some fire. And I think with the playoffs, you're always a little more aware of not hurting your team, you know, with a technical at a key time.
With the way the West was this year, you didn't know who your first-round playoff opponent was going to be until practically midnight the night of the regular season. What has it been like trying to prepare for this first round?
Well, it was pretty unique, and it's a quick turnaround, too, because we've got the first game tomorrow. So it's really only 2 days to prepare. But same thing for San Antonio, and you know, everybody is basically in the same boat. So we'll be all right. We've played them a lot. We played them in the playoffs last year and 4 times this year. We know them, they know us. So 2 days to prep, and you get right into the games. That's fine.
I like that. You're like, we know them, they know us, because not only are all there ties between you and Pop and the teams and everything, but, you know, one of them is your child. Your son is on the staff of the Spurs, so you know him just a little bit.
Right.
I do want to know what the communication is between you and Pop before the series and between you and your son before the series.
Yeah, I talked to both of them yesterday, and we will probably continue to communicate, but basketball will not be the subject. We'll talk about where we're going to go to dinner or something instead.
You can never go wrong asking Pop about wine, so I think that's a good strategy.